Okay, I'm all good. As it says, engagement and connection with diverse audiences. I'll defer right away to the experts and say, thank you very much for everything you said. What she said, thank you very much. You both really hit the nails right on the head. And much of what I would say is information that you've heard them say, information that you already know, but I'll ask you to remember some things about working with diverse audiences. And I'll give you an example of things that have happened in the place where I work. While Franklin Institute sees somewhere above 885,000 people a year in visitation, our visitation comes a lot from school audiences and from family audiences that come to visit us. And it's really wonderful that we have so many people that visit us. But something that we noticed about a decade and a half ago was that while we were serving these audiences with additional informal science, supplemental science education, if you will, there was an audience that we were missing, and that audience was the audience that immediately surrounded the museum. So those school visits were schools from out of the city, out of town, in the suburbs, and the families were coming from the same places. So we weren't serving the immediate audience around us, an audience that I would identify as underserved. Now, underserved, of course, is a buzzword that gets used often for African-American audiences, Hispanic audiences. I think of underserved audiences as those audiences, those that don't have access to or don't participate often in these kinds of authentic science experiences or experiences like a science museum. But I also think of it as those in an urban environment that simply don't come to an experience like ours for one reason or another. Either they're too familiar or something like that. You know, how many times have I been to see the Liberty Bell? Can you guess? You already know the answer, right? Once. Yeah. When I was in elementary school, and I haven't seen it since. So you know how that goes. But the lesson that we learned when we did begin to reach out to the audience immediately surrounding us was exactly as Jane mentioned. We are the Franklin Institute. We are the 800-pound gorilla in science education. There's no question about that. We're very confident in what we do because we've done a lot of this stuff and we've been successful. That's great and everything, but that doesn't really do very much for developing a relationship. And much of what we've learned is all about understanding who our audience is and developing a relationship with that audience. Earlier this week, the CEO of the Astronomical Society of the Pacific, Linda Shore, talked about engaging with diverse audiences. And the three words that she used that were very important, I think, were science capital, science identity, and science agency. And with these terms, what she was talking about is science capital. What science experience do you have? What's your science identity? Do you recognize or see yourself as a scientist? Do you see others that look like you as scientists that allow you to connect with them in a way that allows you to feel as if you could be a scientist too? And science agency, how you can be a scientist, how you can share your experience with others to help them see the world in a more scientific way. And when we think about how we think about Western science and Western science teaching and things like that, often we don't give all of those things to all of these diverse audiences. We don't allow that for all these diverse audiences. So we come at it from the point of view of, I know everything, I'm going to tell you everything you know, just sit back, relax, and absorb it all. We had a very big mistake with that. We ran into a buzzsaw when one of the audiences we wanted to work with said to us in a meeting, we already have a program set up. We already know what we want to do. What we want you to do for us is this. Here's how it'll go. Here's our program, and hopefully there's a way for you to fit in. Oh, I see. And what we walked away with was an education about how we preconceive our audience and how we see ourselves. And that caused us to turn ourselves around completely and think about partnerships and what they really mean. So engagement and partnership, as I said, many of the things you've already heard, but these are the points that come through that I wanted to share with you, many of which you already know. Build community connections for events like this early. Do it early. You can't wait until the last minute for that to happen, because what you need to do is you need to make friends. You need to make friends and you need to build trust. Too often, institutions like ours drop into a community, do the great program, and then disappear again, never to return. So what have you done for the community really, except show yourselves as being idiots? So it's really important that these relationships begin early and begin in earnest with the intention that you're not only going to build trust, but that the program or the connection is going to be a long-term program in which we will learn something from you. You will help us better understand, and we can then share our resources to achieve the same goals. There are goals that you have. We need to understand and respect your goals. We have goals. We'd like to share our goals with you and see if there's compatibility in a way that we can both get there together. The term or the adage that you've already heard, always heard is a rising tide can lift all boats. Let's put that tide together so all of our boats can go up. And play the long game. Play the long game, because in the long game, you'll actually be able to become partners and trust each other and achieve those goals that you're after. Ask potential learning partners what they want to do around this event. How is it that you'd like to do this? When we went to this community, we realized, as we wanted to become partners with them in certain kinds of outdoor activities, community activities they were hosting, we discovered that they already were hosting a network of community events across a number of community centers, and they were looking for us to fill in a particular spot. They had a place for us to be doing something already. And that was the way for us to begin partnering with this community, by allowing them to see that what we had as a product was worthy of the program they already had. So find out what potential learning partners, what they want to do around an event. Ask how you can help them share the event with their community. They already have the network set up. Take advantage of those networks that are there. Ask if and how programming can start well in advance. It's best if you can begin programming well ahead of the big event. Here we have a perfect setup. We have a pre-show and we have the main show. But between now and then, there are opportunities for us to establish a relationship and figure out how we can best work with them. How do your programs flow? What are the elements that make programs in your community successful that may be different from other communities? How can we find that out, understand that, learn that, and work within that framework to help make the program successful? After all, when the elephant comes into the room and tramples all over everything, well, then the program on the elephant's end looks really shabby. So rather than disrupt something that's already working well, why not find out how you can best fit into that? Ask if and how programming can start well in advance so you can learn the ropes. And then work to remove every possible barrier that might prevent sharing authentic science experiences. I'm sure you all do this. I've had great fun in figuring out how to take any kind of science program and make it possible for anybody to do across the panoply of how much money do we have? How much experience do we have? What are the things that keep us from doing this? You know, doing science in an urban area, a community center, is a big challenge. If you're talking about doing an astronomy program in an urban community center, often it might be the situation that they can't do anything in that community at night. Why? Because it's dangerous in the neighborhood at night. So what do? The sun! I'll think of 100 different things to do with the sun, right? That can all tie back to things that are right there in the neighborhood, right in front of you. You know, I said earlier that we used at the 2017 solar eclipse 35 sun spotters. For the last NASA grant-funded program I ran in Philadelphia before the one that's currently happening across the country, I distributed 40 sun spotters around the city. 40. Wow, great, imagine. And they live at the community centers. So now if you wanted to do something astronomical during the day, boom, there it is, along with all the other things that we can do. So work to remove every possible barrier that might prevent sharing authentic science experiences. And sharing the experience, the concept of sharing the experience is the big thing. Science happens in all of these communities, as I said before. The thing that we're doing with them is that we want to try to do is to try to achieve these goals of helping people connect better with science, be inspired to want to learn more about science. That's our goal. And so in sharing these experiences, whatever they are, whether it's biological, astronomical, environmental, or anything along those lines, we're not only sharing the experience of science and inspiring an interest in science, but we're also building this partnership. And the sharing is the important part. We want to share with you. We ask you to share with us. We would like to be better. You can help us get better by doing that. So we share the experience. And here's an up-close picture of that tent. Be innovative. Be willing to take suggestion from your partners, from your diverse audiences about what things might work well in their audience. So another example of this is I'm not a church-going guy, but I did early in my life. But faith-based organizations are excellent community organizing centers where you'll find frequently youth organizations that are looking for activities and programming to do. Now, being innovative in one sense, working with faith-based organizations connects to the religion part. And being innovative in that sense is figuring out how you can do science in conjunction with whatever the faith is, whatever the religion is, so that you can get around any landmines that anybody might try to build up about this, so that you can accomplish the goal you're trying to accomplish. Because, in fact, we all know that this stuff can go together. It's just that you have to be innovative in how you talk about it and how you work with the partnerships that you develop to allow that to merge and work. So that's worked out really nicely in Philadelphia for a lot of the programs that we've done around astronomy through faith-based organizations. I'm really pleased and proud that we've not let that be a barrier. So all ideas that you've heard before, try to remember them, keep them in mind, build off of these, and hopefully that'll help you to expand your programming. Thank you.